idealistic. So it's kind of it's the opposite of being fatalistic. And I mean, just to be clear, fatalism to me is kind of, some people are very afraid, live in fear and just assume the negative of outcomes, and I don't know. I feel
Does that capture it? Not living in fear?
Yeah. Not living in fear.
Many?
I think, looking at some of those things which are common, but maybe another thing could be letting go.
Right.
Because sometimes, if you're not able to let go, then those things can drag you down. And then even if you want to be positive about stuff, till you don't let go, it just weighs on you.
Okay. Abhi?
To me, it's like you feel like the guru's with you.
I'm just going to say feeling the presence.
Yeah.
Monty.
I think a lot of it has been covered, but I would add, when things go bad, not only being able to come back, but being able to actually grow spiritually with each negative experience, kind of taking the lemons and making them into lemonade in terms of your spiritual growth.
Wow, that's beautiful. Okay.
You need to write a paragraph there.
So turning
I'm sorry?
You need to write a
failure
paragraph there.
into growth. Does that capture it?
Yeah, something like that.
Into growth,
Opportunities for spiritual growth.
into spiritual growth.
And in general, resilience, being able to
Resilience.
deal with misfortune and still keep your positive spirit.
I think I started writing in smaller letters. Is that
That's okay.
Sorry.
I think the key to all this though is that Chardikala, you think of it as being still related to Naam and the spiritual path.
It's
not
connected
just
with
general
Naam.
optimism, but it's specifically in terms of Sikhi, when you say Chardikala, it's
Nanak Naam
ties
Chardikala.
into faith and
Faith, Naam. So I thought about how would I try to live Chardikala? And you know how they say you see the glass empty, or half empty or half full,
Yeah.
and it's that. So I thought that for me, Chardikala is to see the potential of the half empty or empty to be full. Always to see that there's an opportunity for growth, personal and for others. So that's very important for me. That in other people, I see the potential of the light to shine brighter and uplift and elevate. So I think maybe that's because sometimes I think that the love that inherently I have for Bani and Guru, it comes with a strong desire to share it. So that's, to me, that's what it is, to always see the potential of things to be better and fuller. So I'm going to try to capture that. And we won't be able to write the story, so I'm going to go into that column. So potential. So I'm just going to say to always have the potential to grow and to be better.
But can I add something?
Yeah, please do.
Because I really love that idea, because all of these are really kind of almost inward looking,
Yeah.
whereas that is kind of connecting us as individuals in Chardikala to seeing, like you're saying, seeing that potential in those around us. So
Yeah.
Chardikala shouldn't be an isolated
Right.
experience. It's
Right.
something that keeps you open to other people, and it's so easy, especially right now you know, with the news and everything, you feel so
Yeah.
cynical and you feel so, I mean,
Hopeless.
I feel this way, cynical and kind of like, you know, just lacking in faith in other people. And that's, I don't know, maybe that, I don't know if that was the intent
Yes,
of the gurus,
absolutely. Of course, because you know what? Aap jape, avra naam japave. Naam is the greater elevator, right? The uplifter, the enabler, the positive element in our lives. So we just went through the definition of Chardikala for each one of us. So what it is. And it's a positive attitude, having high spirits, being pragmatic, meaning not fatalistic as Sangeeta said, and knowing that you have to work through difficult situations. That's pragmatism, right? And not giving up, not just letting yourself go down. This is so important, not living in fear, because half the time fear overtakes us, right? So my favorite line to counter fear is, Jista Sahib Dada Hoy, Tisno Mar Na Sake Koi. You know, my parent, my guru, Bhavi said, is the central point, the pivot in one's life that makes you feel comforted. So not living in fear, letting go. I think Minnie said these. Then feeling the presence, that is so important. Feeling the presence of the Guru, of Vaheguru in our lives. And very beautiful, again, turning failure into spiritual growth. Resilience. And then having Naam as the crux. And for me, I thought about it hard and long, and it was always seeing the potential of things getting better. You know, like not a half empty, half full glass, but seeing it as full always. Or it can become full. And lastly, you know, it's really the Chardikala that Guru has taught us, or the meme for Chardikala is Nanak Naam Chardikala. It's totally connected with Naam. With the state of Naam within us, and the state of Naam that we can project on the outer world. You know, someone said this the other day, that wherever we go, we meet ourselves. I found that very profound. It may not be literally true always, but we can change our reality by who we are, by projection. I was just sharing.
I was going to say this, there's a visual metaphor in Gurbani a lot. It kind of relates to this, with that of flowers blooming. In various forms, it comes up in so many shabas, Vilas, Purna, Volya, Dhatti Voli, Volya, Akas, all the Kamal, the example, and then a lotus of Vilya, blooming lotus.
That dwells in murky waters and is so beautiful, right? So I was sharing with Monchi and Bhabi just before we started talking that you know, sometimes Anhad and I pile on Gujo for driving aggressively, and when we are with him, we just start attacking him. And the natural response is to be defensive, and he keeps defending himself, and the more he defends, the more we pile on him. And we start making blanket statements about, yes, that's what you always do, and blah, blah, blah. So we did that recently, and I felt really bad, and we were at a gathering, and I was sitting across from Kishore, and I just looked at him and I kept saying, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. I'm so sorry I piled on you. I'm so sorry, you get us everywhere in time, and you're always driving. I just kept saying this. And lo and behold, within 15-20 minutes, Vijot just says, you know guys, I just have to say something. I'm really sorry that I snapped at Anhad and Jessi while we were driving. And I just feel the need to say this because I get defensive. Oh my God, this is projection. This is the power of love. Naam is love. Very importantly, Naam is love. Naam is many things. Naam is truth, Naam is beauty, Naam is also love. And that's why Cheto Prem Khilan Ka Chao, Sittar Tali, Kali Mere Aao. Most powerful forces, Naam and love. And I think that is at the basis of Chardikala. Love for ourselves, so we don't get down, and love for humanity, love for people around us, and projecting that. That's so important. Forgiveness is key because it wipes out all the angst and all the hurt and all the darkness, the shadow, right? Wherever there is light, there is shadow. We know that. So how to stay in the light is our daily challenge. And to move, in a way that the shadow doesn't take over. So I think this is beautiful, and I would love to capture this. Someone take a picture and send it to me, because there's so much wisdom that is there in a collective audience, in a collective force, and we learn from each other all the time, and we've come up with some wonderful definitions about Chardikala. The potential for growth, I absolutely love it. Well,
One thing missing from here is like always stay in the hukam is Chardikala.
that is so essential. Acceptance, hukam.
Acceptance. Whatever happens is for good.
तुम करो भला हम भलो न जाने तुम सदा सदा दयाला.
Hukam, that is so key. Acceptance of what is happening.
Can you write down what you said about Naam also?
What, Sangeeta?
Can you write down kind of how you elaborated on what is Naam actually? Because
Okay.
it's something that I find sometimes hard to fully understand. Does anyone know what the roots of the word Naam is? I mean, is there how does Naam translate into love? Hanji?
He can explain.
Yeah.
I'll defer to Vijay. I'll add my 2 cents to it, but
throughout Guru Granth Sahib, we are always begging for Naam. Mango Dhan, Thakur Naam. Our Pachu mere sang na chale. DJ Kirpa Gunadhan. Please bless me. Your praises that Jisno Bakshe Sif Salah Nanak Pacha Hi Pacha. So Naam is the bridge for my soul to reach to that super soul. And all our gurus, Guru Granth Sahib throughout in every page you will see that the Naam is Naam ke tare sagle jam, Naam ke tare khand brahmand. It's a base, it's a foundation
it's
of
the thread.
everything.
So let me give sort of try to voice my understanding of Naam. And I think I may have said it during previous talks. So when I take somebody's name, for example, I say in the moment, right? So what comes up for me? Naam literally is name, right? Naam. But what name do you give to the nameless one? So Naam is for me the attributes that come together to create that Naam. So what are those, when I say in the Monviji, what comes up in my mind? First of all, his physical appearance, then his kindness, his wisdom, his calmness, right? Equipoise, think of Jagbonvirji, knowledge, right? All the traits, generosity in terms of sharing his wisdom. So all the attributes of a person are evoked by the person's name. So similarly, when I think of Naam, of the Creator who is nameless, I think of the Creator's love, the wisdom, the spiritual wisdom that has been given to us in Guru Granth Sahib, the forgiveness, the Mehirban, Sada Mehirban, the ability of the Creator, the beauty, Balihari Kudrat Vasya, the outer manifestation that is so awe-inspiring that you just cry and want to lose yourself in it. So all these things come up for me when I think of Naam. The entirety of the beauty, the benevolence, the munificence, the magnificence of the creative force. For me, that is Naam. And that's how I go from Naam to love. Because I think the biggest gift that we have as human beings is the capacity to love. There's nothing more beautiful than that. The
And
capacity.
Another dimension besides love, the other one is bliss, joy.
Yes.
Another dimension to love. It's love
Yes,
and it's
absolutely.
joy.
Anand. You know, and Anand is related to Chardikala. Right? Anand bhya meri maa. I'm so full of joy and bliss. Why? There is no reason. That's my essential nature. I cut at its root because of the hurdles. But essentially, you know, you see a child and you see a natural bubbling of Chardikala and Anand and joy, an infant smiling, you know. I remember so distinctly that Anand never woke me up at night as an infant. And I would go to the room and literally, I would say, oh my God, he's so joyful. He would be playing with the sunlight is the best way I can describe it. The sun would be sort of, the rays would be beaming into the room and he would be like this. He would be just, it was a little dance he was doing. And it was so much joy. And wow, but we lose it. You know?
But you can get back to it.
But we can get
You're
back
listening
to
and
it.
getting back to it.
The reason we can get back to it because it's our essential nature. As being part of that light, we have it within us. So I hope that clarifies it a bit. Okay.
I a little bit more.
Hanji.
The example which you're giving for Indramohanji, but this you learned because you're dealing with Indramohanji. Somebody who's walking on the street, and if you present Indramohan, he would not have all those attributes,
No.
right? So we are in the same way,
Yes.
okay?
Yes, yes. We don't
So
know.
I'm a person on the street who does not know Indramohan. That means I don't know about Naam,
Yes.
okay? So when we go to Guru Granth Sahib, we ask, and we just hear love, but I have not experienced love. So Guru Granth Sahib does us a very big favor. He tells us, Ramaya ge gun chet parani, kaman murte kaman drishtani, jintun saaj savar sigarya, garab agan mein jine ugarya, bar vivasta tujhe pyare du, parjoban ojan suksu, birad paya upar saaksan, mukh apyao baat sojan.
So many gifts.
एक
So
निर्गुण
many. So much protection.
ए निर्गुण गुण कछु न पूछे.
Yeah.
Still he doesn't understand. So I would be a person on the street, although Indramohan ji has done so many favors, I am not familiar with that, not helped with that. I will not know that. So the same way, in Guru Granth Sahib, Guru Arjan Dev Ji teaches us in Sukhmani Sahib, he says, your relationship with him was from before you were born and when you were born. And when you were a baby, he was relating with you as a mother. And when you were in the street playing with the friends, he was playing with you. And when you are older, coming as a spouse to you, and when you are much older, kids and the grandkids are feeding you. And this is what Naam is named. His name is Vaheguru. He is the one who is sitting in front of you, who came to you as a parents,
Yes.
your spouse,
Beautiful.
your children, and develop the right relationship.
Beautiful. So, Vaheguru.
A simple comment on that. If you tell somebody who doesn't know anything about Sikhi, here's what is Simran, sit down and say, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru. You won't do anything for him. It's the Gurbani, the Kirtan,
Yes,
it's the
absolutely.
everything that gives the meaning to Vaheguru. What does Vaheguru mean? That we get from Gurbani, from the Guru. Otherwise, it's just a word.
Very true.
So,
And you know,
Naam is a
Vaheguru,
word, it's a name, but it has definite meaning that is.
beautiful. And Vaheguru is not the Creator's name. It's our wonder, our expression of wonder when we experience the magnificence, even in the most minuscule way. And all that we can say is, wow, wow, Vaheguru, Vaheguru. I may have shared this before, but we were on a little catamaran and we were watching the carving of the glaciers. And was standing at the edge of the boat, and there was this, two instances, there was this woman who said, who can see this and remain an atheist? And then another time we were in Chardikala watching the sunrise, and there was this woman next to me. I saw her just bow down to the, to the floor of the mountain. She just put her foot down. She didn't have to say anything. So these are moments of awe, of inspiration that connect us to the divine, and I think love is the biggest connection. And what I said about Naam, obviously it's learned from Sikhi, right? The beauty, the joy, the effulgence, the love, the forgiveness. So much we do that is wrong, and when we go and ask for forgiveness and we feel lighter, we feel so good, because if we are honest and are able to face ourselves through Gurbani's guidance, we know our flaws and we have an opportunity to build on them, unpack them and start our growth. But that's another aspect of Chardikala. Okay, I think that's great. So let's start on the stories. I would love to hear stories of Chardikala. And I won't be able to capture them here, but hopefully we'll be able to capture them on the video. So let's do stories. And the stories could be of your own moment of Chardikala or Chardikala that you've seen exhibited in others. Manjeet.
Story is difficult to remember stuff. I think even a general comment though, where even at the death we sing Anand Pe Aapni Mai. If that's not Chardikala, then what?
Yes. I'm just going to say Anand Sahib. Greatest example of Chardikala in life.
Last night I have a good friend on the East Bay, and Jessi, you might know them, Anjali, Jamiani, and Ina. They're Balan's friends. Anyway, their father passed away 2 days
yeah.
ago.
I know Anjali, yes.
Yeah, and they described how it happened, and it was such a, so we went to pay our respects last night to them. And he was like 93 years old, and he had had very severe health issues because he had a humpback, so he had, this disability from birth. But he became an engineer and moved to the States and brought all of his extended family, and everything. But anyway, they described how he passed away. And they were all sitting together at his nephew had just bought a new home, and they had done, they're Hindus, so they had done a bhajan or something. And the whole family was together, and then afterwards they were having dinner and, just celebrating. And he said, oh, I'm feeling a little breathless. And he sat down and he just smiled at his daughter, and then he was gone. And when I heard this, I had heard this from other friends who told us, okay, this happened very suddenly. They weren't, when your parent is 93 years old, you're prepared, but you're never really prepared. So it was just, that was a moment of Chardikala for me. When I heard that story, I thought, God, I'm sorry. But I just thought, how special that is for someone to be able to do it.
And the family recognized it. So, me.
Sorry.
So we're sharing looked at the definition of Chardikala, what it means to the group here. And now we are sharing stories of Chardikala as experienced by us or as we have seen in other people. So Manjeet ji has said that for him, Chardikala is when all of us do anansad at a moment that is very sad, or we experience it as sadness, because there is no sadness when you accept the hukam, right? So when somebody departs and we do anansad, that's such an amazing example of Chardikala. And Sangeeta just shared how a friend's father passed away at 94, and his last what was it, the last act of his life was smiling at his family and then just passing on. And so Minnie is going to share with us what she has experienced or seen in others as Chardikala.
Yeah, these are always, it's never easy. So I'll share a few things, and which is actually about my dad. मेरे पापा ना वो पाठ, he did lot of part, he would always do part regularly, but पापा ना ऐसी जब वो खुश सीगे, he would do part when he's happy. जब वो anytime he had any stress or कुछ हो रहा, he could not do part. So it's usually लोग कहते हैं ना जब कोई problem होवे तो रब को याद करो.
I can relate to that, yeah.
When he's happy and he's in the best of his, he will do it, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
and then when he was sad, he just couldn't do
So
it.
down,
Yeah. And then the other thing, he was, so my father passed away in 2013, and then that same year, they had my parents had 50th wedding, you know, anniversary, or Gurpurab was the same day. The bachche usually ki hunda, they are in Sacramento, so as such, you know, I was planning to go. Thanksgiving was after 4 or 5 days. So we had thought we will go there. So what happened is, and this didn't happen directly with me, but all of us were calling to wish, and Bisman, my older son, talked to Nanaji to wish him. So this was my dad's conversation with him. He said, Bisman, 50 years Nani Nal Guzaren, now it is going to be with God. And he was gone after 4 days. So it's just that I think he would always, after the last 2-3 years, and I think Manjeet remembers this, he would be singing loudly, I am ready. You know, and he was a big Guru Gobind Singh Ji Bhagat. He would say, I'm done with everything, God has given me so much, although there's been a lot of hardships in life as well, but he would always be positive about it, and he says, I am ready as your servant whenever you want to. It's very hard to say those things, and we would be, Papa, why are you saying all, you know, but he just, you know, so that's, I think those are examples of where we felt that he was, and I'm sure we can do it.
Thank you for sharing, Bhavi. I'm sure you have a lot to share with your love for, you know, little children and your dedication as a mother always, and now as a grandmother. The joy they bring to your life.
No, I think that's everybody else.
Vichar?
Just reminded me, I think I have shared in the past, some of you might have heard, when my dad passed away, he was in the hospital, and I wasn't there, but my wife was there. So he called her, and he was going to put on a ventilator, and he called Kabajit and said that, do you have paper and pencil? I said, yes. So she said, okay, write it down. Jetha Samandha Sagar Neer Parya, Tete Akka Nambara. दया कर मुझ मेहर का हृदय का. And then he said that मेरे अवगुण जिन्ने सी वो बख्शने नहीं जा सकता करते ही के खातना. And then after that, just a minute later, he passed away. And those were his last words as a Gurbani. So at that time, the whole family and the grandchildren, and so they started to cry. I said, no. अंतकाल जो लक्ष्मी से है ऐसी चिंता में जो लगे बदल चलो चलते न मुक्ता पीतांबर वाके से. Said we shouldn't cry, and said you just go home and I'll stay here till this party is removed from the hospital and get ready. We will start the Saj Bath when we go home. And by the time I reached Maharaja Prakash upstairs again, brought him downstairs, and we will start the Saj part, took the Hukamnama, Shabad came in, Suhi Mahla Chautha, Har Pehladi
Oh
Ram,
my God.
Roti Karam Vidaya Padaram.
That's exactly the work I got from my mother when she passed away. And she would always say that don't cry when I go back to my true husband. That'll be my wedding day. Exactly that. Wow.
So I just said that Guruji is talking about telling him that he's getting married.
Wow. Amazing. Wow. Vichi, would you like to share? These are very inspiring stories of, some very difficult, Chardikala during some very difficult moments.
His father was very inspiring for us.
Very
He was a
inspiring.
great inspiration.
Yeah.
He was always in
He was a
Chardikala.
good.
He used to say, I'm looking forward because it's like a promotion.
Yeah,
So
I
it's like
remember
a
that.
graduation or a promotion. That's how you should look at that. I've had lots of ups and downs in my own life, and my experience is, looking back, has been that there have been occasions at that time, you actually may even find it harder, as they were saying, to depart or something. But there have always been occasions for spiritual growth, because you actually always helped me to get back closer to the Guru and discover myself more in dealing with it. That's what happens when there's dukh, when something is really bad. It can actually be a positive thing, because God knows better. Why karo bhala bhala na jane. It looks very bad at that time, but in retrospect, you can see that Vaheguru knew what was good for you, and he's doing the right thing.
There's another line that comes to mind. I don't remember the very precise words, but it's something like this from Gurbani that I don't remember the first three words, but the last three words are Dukh mein paya te Naam, which you would remember. Naam, your Naam is like a diya.
दीवा मेरा एक नाम दुख विच पाया तेल उन चानन सोखिया चूका जम से उमरा.
How beautiful is that? The shadow disappears. When you pour oil in the Naam and it shines even brighter.
And the light is the
Light is the Gyan, light is the presence, right?
It's
Symbolic of
presence,
presence,
But
right?
the other thing that I think I learned from my father also, he used to tell us that, is to count your blessings when things don't look good, because we always have so much more to be grateful for.
Think about that.
We have 95 good things happening to us, and there's one or two things that are bothering us.
Yeah.
That's what we think about.
Yeah.
And we go down deeper and deeper, and then if you start thinking about all the blessings and learn how to, it's gratitude, I think, is a very key way to get out of the depths of negativity or despair and to get into a positive Chardikala attitude is look at all the things you're thankful for and build that gratitude and focus on the gratitude.
Anjit Sangeeta?
No, can you add the concept of Naam being a bridge? It's a very useful.
in so many ways, right?
Yeah.
Naam as a bridge to so many things. So Naam as a bridge to positivity. So I'm going to share a couple of stories. I'll try to be fast, and these are about just random people. I remember Anand was about 9 years old, and we were visiting India. And just before going to India, he had bought a pair of sneakers that lit up when you walked. They were very trendy at the time, and they were back ordered, and it took several weeks for them to come. And he was totally joyous, little joyous. He was just thrilled to get those shoes. And so we went to India, and we were in Connaught Place, and we were going to a restaurant, one of my old favorites. And there was this young boy, not much older than Anhad, who was selling the evening newspaper that day. And he had a top knot and a white rumal on the white handkerchief, right? He wasn't wearing a patka, but in lieu of the patka, it was that little white, but you could see his jewelry. He didn't have any shoes. It was November, December time frame. Very cold night, probably December. And he was selling newspapers, evening newspapers, and he did not have any shoes. And Anand looked at him as we were entering the restaurant, and he says, Mom, look at him. Look, Mom, look. He doesn't have any shoes. I'm like, yeah. Throughout the dinner, he kept saying, his feet must be so cold. Wow, Mom, how come he doesn't have shoes? I said, Anand, I don't know. Doesn't he have money for shoes? I'm like, Jay, I don't know. How can somebody be without shoes? So I was just quiet. I really I didn't know how to answer that question, how to talk about poverty where a young child on a December evening standing on the street is without shoes. So then during dinner he says, Mom, I want to give my shoes to him. And I'm like, wow, that's very sweet, Anand. But remember that I won't be able to get them for you in India. We can go back and order them. That's very, very sweet of you. So can we go? Can we go right now? So I'm like, okay, let's finish our dinner and we'll go. So we finished our dinner and we came downstairs and that kid was not there. So he says, he's gone. Can we find him? I said, okay, let's try to find him. So we started walking. And we walked a couple of blocks and we found him standing at another traffic light selling newspapers. So I said to him, started talking to him, and I said, Bete, ki naam hai tada? What's your name? And he gave me his name. I don't remember what it was. And so Anand is nudging me, ask him about if he can take my shoes. So I said to him, Bache, my son would like to give his shoes to you. Dekho tada size ki hega. He said, nahi chahiye. Spoke to me in Hindi. Nahi chahiye. So I said, क्यों नहीं चाहिए? So he says, मेरा छोटा भाई है, उसके पास भी नहीं है. So कैसे लूँगा? He's talking in Hindi. A very, very strong voice. And I said, okay, I can understand. You cannot go back wearing shoes when your little brother doesn't have them. I said, how about if I give you some money? Buy shoes for yourself and your little brother. नहीं चाहिए. So I said, क्यों नहीं? He says, मैं भीख नहीं लेता. Wow. So I said, what can I do for you? मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ आपके लिए? He had a huge stack of evening newspapers. He says, ये खरीद लो सारा. So I said, okay, how many are there? But then he can have what number he told me. So I said, कितने के हैं? So he said, so I gave him the money. I took that stack of newspapers and he was so happy and he skipped away and he looked at me. He says, जूते ना सही, भागता बहुत तेज हूँ. I was stunned. To me, that was Chardi. I'm a runner. I run fast. I don't care if I don't have shoes. I was just totally wowed by this Chardikala. And there's just one more story I'm going to share. There was, again, we were coming out of a restaurant. This was in New Friends Colony. And there were all these little beggar children. And so I had change or whatever. You know, in India, it's Gurjot and I do that. We just give whatever we can. And there was this one kid who comes up to me. He says, "Paise nahi chahiye." There was this person selling toys. You know, they have this big rod and there are toys stuck on both sides. And he was selling toys. So he tells me, "Khilona le do." So I said, okay. So I went to the person who was selling the toys and I said, "Kya loge?" And there were these helium-filled balloons that were strung on the pole. And he says, "5 le doge? De doge lekar?" I said, "Sure." So I bought him 5 balloons. You know what he did? He let them fly and he danced. He had me buy the balloons. He let them loose and then he just danced. I'll never forget these 2 stories. So much Chardikala, you know. Such a joy he got just from 4 or 5 balloons. There are lots of stories and mostly they're about the other people, my parents, but you know, we've already shared similar stories. So I'll turn to you if you have any stories about Chardikala, either one of them.
I'll try to catch up.
Go ahead. Can you wait a few moments?
What I feel is a day-to-day, time-to-time phenomena where sometimes you pass through such difficult times, and I feel the Chardikala will be appearing in the sense that you challenge your inner side and get over it. And when it comes, how it comes, and why it comes, I feel that is the opinion where really it is very amazing. In life, many times such things have happened. I was in the Air Force and we were flying from Allahabad to Bangalore. We took off in the afternoon. Weather, both places were very good, but en route near Nagpur, the weather was bad. We, a crew of about 7, 8, 10 people, young crowd, very young crowd, and we leisurely flying, no problem, had some snacks on board as well as because it was a part of night flying. At Nagpur, you know, when there is a cloud, I'm talking about almost 30 years back, there in the transport aircraft there are not many aids available to you to find where you are. One of the instruments known as NDB is the guiding factor, which, you know, on the route it comes many places, they tell you you are going in this direction, this is the right place. But when the clouds are there and static clouds like lightning and too much thunder, it stops working. So over...
That's when it's needed the most. That's what's on.
And then your communication to the tower is about 120 miles or so, but we were very far off because now it was late evening, en route aerodromes were closed, so our destination was only Bangalore. So at Nagpur, we were just flying by fluke, take this direction, avoid this cloud, do this. And after some time, we thought we are on track and we realized that we hit the west coast. Now from west coast, we could see the down below water and sea, and we have already flown about 9 hours. 9 hours. And this aircraft endurance is about 9 hours. Normally we get refueled, that is about 5 hours flying, 4 hours for diversion and all that. This is how we calculate. And then nothing still working. And where you are exactly on the west coast is not really known. And such a situation, everybody is saying turn left, turn right, we are maybe at this place, maybe. And at that time we could hardly see any city where we could say this may be the city where we can want to this. And now I believe, if I look back, it appears that probably from the point where we were still about 2.5 hours to go. 2.5 hours, and we are already flown whatever is the endurance of the aircraft. So now get ready for you will be surprised, madam, that all of a sudden a voice appeared, and that is Bangalore is calling you. So, but he could not hear us. Now we knew that this is the direction probably we can make on. We flew that aircraft for 11.5 hours, praying to God, and we could not finish the runway landing. It stopped at the end of the runway. It's such a miraculous thing. I don't know, there must be somebody lucky on board. And there was one chap who kept on saying, no, we will make it, we will make it, we will make it. And we did not lose heart for that matter, I don't know why. We never thought that probably it is that critical stage that get ready. Parachutes were ready, of course, in any case. But sometimes in life such things happen, and that chap kept on saying, continuously, every half an hour he will say, don't worry, we will make it. God is kind, we will make it. So, I mean, sometimes things, I'm sharing maybe is not exactly Chardikala.
No, it's totally.
It is a Chardikala.
Totally Chardikala. Totally
And a
Chardikala.
positive attitude.
Totally positive energy. Would you like to share something?
This aircraft we had taken from the USAF, and then this story went around. Firstly, they blamed us.
Of course.
No, blame is sense, but we were casual in many ways. The navigator could not really, take us down to that point. If you have done right, if he tracks on the map, we would not have gone that, that out for that matter. So anyhow, but at the end of the day, we were very lucky that we were safe.
Okay, that's wonderful. So let's talk about what prevents us from being in that state of Chardikala. Anybody?
We start again. Hurdles. The world has so much of pain and suffering. Those becomes hurdles sometimes. Listening to Donald becomes hurdle sometimes. So you lose your Chardikala for some time.
Experiencing
Pain, suffering.
and feeling down, right?
Kind of, yeah.
And Sangeeta had said something earlier, feeling pain and feeling cynical.
It's feeling isolated, not being in touch with God or with other
Feeling
people.
isolated,
It's a sense of isolation.
cynical. Sorry, please forgive me my writing.
The biggest one is when somebody has a mental issue. That's totally Chardikala gone.
Yeah?
Then the Chardikala is totally gone.
माया चित हर विसरै मोह जो पावन उजाला you forgot परमेश्वर दे भुलिया व्यापन सत्य हो all these things pains sufferings mental issues all of them will come in
Disconnecting.
Maya jit har visar. So Maya is the biggest hurdle. because Maya comes in so many ways.
It's when the
Chit har
mind, when
visare.
the mind is much stronger, the mind is stronger than now. You're driven by your lower instincts.
Jimunjuji summed it up. Now Maya is so huge, its tentacles are so spread out. You know, it takes so many forms. Gurbani calls it a serpent that lures us. And if we beat one temptation, Maya presents another. What else? I mean, that says it all, but being a bit more specific. Minnie, you want to add something? Sangeeta?
I think, I think some of it is captured there, but also, so Bani cha hunda ki you always have to remember that everybody is here for a finite time. Matlab kadi pullo nahi, right? End has to come. But sometimes that thing is also fear, it brings a fear factor as well.
Yeah.
Now
Fear of
that,
death.
yeah, the fear of that thing, although they say कि तुसी कदी भुल्लो नहीं कि ये होना है, लेकिन कई
So
बार
fear of death?
the fear, yes, the fear of death, then in some ways it sort of prevents you from, now you think of that because they say you have to always remember कि end होना है, but जो तुसी सोचते हो and then you become scared, then it prevents you from being positive too. I mean, it's just a little bit of a, so it's,
But Sikhi is based upon this Pehla Maran Kabul Jeevan ki chada aas. So obviously we have not even started on that path.
yes,
If we are continuing with the fear of death.
yeah.
So Sikhi starts once the Pehla Maran Kabul. You have to accept it. Maran likhai mandal mein aaye. We have come to this world. Jo janme so jano moa. So we have to accept that. If we don't accept it, obviously that's the biggest hurdle.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember that. Yes. You're so engrossed with all your daily activities.
That's
Khana
where,
pina
Second.
hasna sona
Visar
visar gaya
gaya
hai
hai
marna.
that's where Gurbani is so essential.
Yeah. So Gurbani is
Reset your mind in that direction more than the other.
Sangeeta?
I think, since I lost my father, I think about it a lot more, and it's interesting what you were saying about your father not wanting to do part when he was upset or down.
Sad.
And it's something that honestly I've been experiencing, because I want to do it, but when I sit down to do it, it's so difficult.
The grief takes over.
Yeah, the
I
grief
can
takes
so
over.
relate to that.
Exactly. Actually, even just sitting in the Gurdwara sometimes, the grief takes over. But I also feel, so that's one, but I feel a sense of ennui, meaning like, there's almost this feeling of what is the point of doing things?
Helplessness.
And I know that's, and I know that's really wrong, but there are days when you just feel like you're going through the motions, but what is the greater purpose? You don't feel connected to a greater purpose. You're just kind of eating, sleeping, cleaning, doing all those things, all the chores, all the basic necessities, but there's a feeling of like, okay, I'll do this for another 20 years or 30 years, but it's very demotivating almost. And so that's what I've been trying to work on. How do I just keep myself motivated? And maybe I'm just in that place right now. But I don't know if it's age, or I think certainly losing my dad was a factor in that. But
I remember when I lost Papa, my will to live left me for 2 whole years. And one of my very close friends said that it's like the light has gone out of you. It happens, and then I think the connection with Vani and the Guru's love that is part of your being is what prompts you. And even if you don't do your practice at that time, there is muscle memory, right? There is, there is the remembrance of that love. And I think Guru comes to your aid in subtle ways, in obvious ways, through someone. It happens, and it happened with me.
That's where when you feel defeated, then,
That's when
then
you
God
need it.
sends something in you and you start living again. I mean, defeated is not is the word, I mean, may not be for temporarily, maybe days and months and all that. But in my opinion, there is never a case where he doesn't show you the light to come out.
Babaji never abandons you.
Abundance. That's it.
And through all the darkness and the lack of joy
Strength.
that you feel,
Lack of strength.
I think Guru comes to your aid. But the very, very, very important thing is to establish that connection. And it's the years spent in remembrance that come to your aid. It's the investment that you have made to not any outside force, but to yourself. Because the true temple, Varvaranda Gurbani, is within you. To keep that light going within us through the love for the divine, through the love for others, through love for yourself. That becomes an enabler. Very subtly, very gently, sometimes, enters you very softly. I remember one time I was really down and out, and you know what cheered me up? Seeing a cherry blossom in full bloom in Sunnyvale. It used to be a cherry orchard, and it was just such a spectacular sight. I just literally pulled the car and I looked and I'm like, wow. And the thought came in my head that a few months ago I saw the bare limbs, and I have the potential to flower like this. And something snapped, something just elevated me. You never know where that inspiration comes from. It could be a child who reaches out to you. It could be a line from Sikh Guru Granth Sahib that pops up.
Some trigger.
Something that just brings the beauty and joy of life back to you. And that connection may be worldly, but it brings you back to the source.
You just have to be open to
You just have to be open to it, right? Always.
That's why
I think
Guru
the
Sahib
connect-
said,
Sorry.
that's why it says in Guru Granth Sahib, Jal Thal Mayal
Yeah.
Hridaya Vichar. So he is omnipresent, omnipotent.
Totally.
So he is going to come in and give you that message in one or the other form.
The divine force is so potent, so powerful. And as Vichar is saying, it's omnipresent and omniscient, is seeing us. Gurbani says that Vaheguru feels the pain of an ant. And that beautiful Guru that dwells within us is feeling our pain. But we have to go through it to come alive again. And that pain, as I look back now, I feel that Papa left at a time when he knew that the lessons that I had to learn from him, I have, and it was time for me to go on my own. He gave me the Guru. What better gift? So enabler, how do we sum it up? Oh, sorry. I would say above all, Bani. Nature. Because Balihari Kudrat Vasya, obviously
Sangha.
now. Sangha, the huge one.
It's being around other people in Chardikala.
Yes.
question of faith.
Yes.
Very much.
Siddiq.
You remember the hukam?
Yes. Beautiful.
Will bring you to Chardikala.
I think Seva is also wonderful.
See,
You know, I was gonna talk about that.
giving.
The greatest joy,
Greatest joy.
the greatest joy is in giving. So when you do something for someone, a random acts of kindness, they uplift you.
And
That
gratitude.
is so huge.
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Is recognizing our blessings.
Yeah. And we come back to this. So this. Coming back to that. So Rahat is going through a very tough time. Her trial has begun, and the last CAT scan showed that some of the auxiliary or the minor tumors have shrunk, but the main one hasn't. It could have enlarged, or it may be the same size. They're not able to determine. So I was talking to her, I was working with her on, what is going inside her. And I said to her, Rahat, you have to find a purpose, a higher purpose to live. I want you to identify it. I want you to set that as a goal for you. I want you to make your body heal, keeping that in mind. Because the body has a wisdom of its own. When you give up, the mind and body and spirit are so connected. So when you give up hope, the body just crumbles. But when you have a higher purpose and you want to live for that, the mind and the body cooperate, right? So I called her again. I said, did you think about it? What is your higher purpose? And she said, volunteering.
Yeah.
Because she has volunteered in the past at Good Sam. And she says, that's something I love to do. So I said, giving to others. That can heal you. That alone can heal you. Because it brings joy back in your heart. Yeah.
I saw a film called The Farewell, which
Yes.
I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It's about 6 months or a year old, but it's a film about an Asian family who they're a Korean family, I think Korean or Chinese, and basically the story in the film is that there's a young woman who lives in New York City, and her grandmother is diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. So the family decides, I guess this is a tradition among Chinese families, that instead of telling the grandmother that she has this disease, they don't tell her. And they plan a fake wedding so that everyone in the family can get together and spend time with her. But they never tell her that she has this disease. And the young woman who is, this is her grandmother, and she's growing up in the States, she says she's very angry. Why are you not telling her? Because she has a very Western point of view. And they say, we are not telling her because it's our job as her children to carry that burden. And we're freeing her from that fear of the disease by not telling her.
So that she can continue to live a normal life.
Exactly. And so at the end of the movie, so at first I thought this is just a fictional story. And the young woman who's the main character, she's now becoming an up-and-coming actress. Her name
Aquafina.
is Aquafina. At the end of the movie, there's a little blurb which shows her real so this was a true story.
This was a true story.
Right.
And the woman is still alive.
Yeah, that's
the
what I was
grandma
going to
is
say.
still alive. She's continuing. So the cutest part of the movie were that granny is having a ball at the wedding.
Right.
She's dancing, she's skipping, she's
Right.
telling her daughter how to exercise every
Right,
day
right.
and how good exercise is for
Right,
you.
Right.
And
Her
and
purpose is her family, actually, the
yes,
grandmother.
yes.
And so, yeah, that's
It
what,
was
that's
beautiful.
what that, yeah.
It was beautiful. I loved it.
Right,
And it's called Farewell.
the fair one.
Yeah.
The fair. And just like you, when I was watching it, yeah, right?
But that last thing
Oh
really
my
hit
God,
me.
yeah. So you know, mind is so powerful.
Right.
She didn't know, she didn't grieve, she didn't give up, and she had every intention of living, probably outliving a lot of people. So that's Chardikala for you. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I love that movie too. Okay, so hopefully this exercise can help us bring a concept that can sometimes be a bit esoteric into our lives and reconnect us to the wellspring of joy that's within us.
Maybe esoteric, but it's a very practical.
Very
because
good.
you
It's
deal
not.
with
It
every
could
day.
be. No? It could be. We could say, okay, what is it? Yeah, it's positive. Yeah, it's optimism. You know, how do we do it? So it's not everything about Gurbani is very practical, very pragmatic, very doable. You know, and so in Sangat we learn from each other, and Bani can always prop us up and elevate us. And
Music and kirtan would be another one.
Yeah.
very, very, very important. Music uplifts.
Right.
Music always uplifts. So just a few tips, you know, living in gratitude, creating a journal, you know, where we talk about the wonderful things that happened today, listing things that we are grateful for, uplifting someone else, listening to music, taking care of yourself. I am not very disciplined about exercise as Bhabhi is. But now what I've decided is that when I wake up, rather than sitting behind a computer or whatever, you know, just take Pepper for a walk. So exercise really releases those endorphins. And if we can listen or chant Naam while we're exercising. When I was little, Papa told me that when you put your first foot out, say Wahe, when you put your right foot out, say Wahe. So that's become a habit. Waheguru, Waheguru. It's kind of, it's a rhythm. So as you walk faster, Waheguru, 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 you know, it picks up the pace. So exercising, you know, spending time, as Vichi said, Sangat, with friends who are uplifting.
There's another issue which normally, I don't know, there's a word layer.
Leisure.
How many
Happy.
people in our day-to-day life understand this word and its meaning and how they go about it, that in the 24 hours,
Make time for leisure.
what is that which give you leisure and play?
And pleasure.
You know, the enablers,
Point
we should
making.
also, we can also add laughter.
Absolutely.
We have to
Jokes.
take the time to
Yeah, laugh.
laugh and sometimes even laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
That will help us come out of.
Very true.
On those lines, little children playing with kids and
Playing with
That is
kids.
like,
you
yeah.
experience that, you see them
Yeah.
laughing. There's a lot of fun.
Laughter is infectious. And sometimes you can be very silly.
Silly and laugh.
And laugh.
Yes, it's okay.
You know, I wanted to, this occurred to me, there's a new field called positive psychology,
Yeah.
which is kind of, talks about, because generally the field of psychology, which really, all of these things are very concepts related to our mental health and psychology. But the field of psychology started off through the study of pathology, in other words, what was wrong with people. But now there's a new field that looks at what is it that people who are really positive, what do they do in their lives? You know, so there's a whole study of health, a healthy psychology. And actually, the gurus are so ahead of their time that this
Totally.
concept actually really is positive psychology.
It's being taught. It's being
Right.
taught in universities right now.
Exactly, yeah. So this, you know, the whole, now today it's very trendy to talk about meditation as a way to heal, but all of these ideas are so embedded in Gurbani and
Meditation, this is very.
yeah. Yeah, it's a very, and in fact, there's a very beautiful movie called Happy, which is, it's a documentary by a man who spent 7 years
Yes.
traveling around the world,
Yeah.
interviewing people
What
in
makes
all
sense?
kinds of
All kinds of
circumstances.
circumstances,
Yeah.
yes, it's a very
And
nice
then
one.
he talks about this field of positive psychology as
And
kind of what
the
motivated him.
conclusion is that giving.
Yeah,
Giving
giving,
gives you
social
what's happening.
connection.
Social connection.
The simple things
Yeah.
in what you were
Yeah.
saying, Vaisab, that what gives you pleasure. Often it's the simple things that give
You
you
know, we
pleasure.
have a little group that meets once a month,
Yeah,
and Sangeeta's part of it, and we have so much fun, and
yeah,
we just laugh and we
right.
just share, and it's you go home feeling so, I don't know, just a sense of fun and fulfillment, and you know, like also joining a book club where you read inspirational books. I think at the end of the day, just after doing so, it also to say thank you, Babaji. Waking up with a thank you, Babaji, for a beautiful day, for a new day. And these are little tools we can adopt and adapt and keep ourselves rooted in that high spirit of optimism, eternal optimism. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
This was a different format than most of.
Opportunity, Vichar. When he says you have to give a talk at Chardikala, so okay, let's make it like this. Let's capture this if we can. Lots of good pointers from the group.
Talking about the movies and all that, just remember them. I think this cannot be complete without Randy Bausch, the last lecture.
Oh, yeah, the last lecture.
Oh my
We
God.
haven't heard.
You cannot, Chardikala
Yes,
is the
yes.
highest one.
Highest, yeah.
Highest of all I can really sing of Randy Bausch.
He's a
The
computer
last
science
lecture.
professor. CMU, Hanji.
Yeah, he was a professor there, and he got on the stage with, I cannot do the push-ups, but he, with one hand, he could do push-ups. So you can see how strong he is. And he knows that he's gonna die in 6 months. And we are always looking for, I'm gonna good health and I'm gonna good health. So he had virtually everything. He is a professor, loved by his students, and at that time he gave the last lecture in the class. And he said how to Guru Granth Sahib, the number one thing they teaches us, Pehla Marna Kabul. So he accepted that. And then he made some messages for his I think he had 4 children, that when they grow up, they would get them this message for them. And he taught the world how to die in Chardikala.
You know, there's another book, similar now, written by a doctor who was also diagnosed with cancer, When Breath Becomes Air.
When breath becomes.
Air. So beautiful. And one would think it's a depressing book, but it's actually a very inspirational book.
I think it's also a very human aspiration, Chardikala.
Totally.
I mean, we like to think of it as just something in Sikhi. I think it is unique in Sikhi. There is something, because it's such a central part of our ethic and our ethos, but there is this kind of common human
Oh,
desire
yes,
to
yes.
have this. And I have been thinking a lot about that how to be proud of our heritage, our unique heritage, but also remain connected to kind of our common humanity and, not seeing that in other people from other backgrounds and cultures.
The connections, right?
Yeah.
And Guru Nanak did that.
Yeah, he really
And he did that during
Yeah.
his travels, and he did that on an everyday basis, and he did that through his humor and his teachings and his sharing, so many different aspects.
So Jessi, one thing and I think I thought of it as you were mentioning about trying to stay connected with, others in humanity. We don't have courage listed here anywhere, but I feel courage is also an embodiment of Chardikala, which is much more so than in lot of other places. And in some ways, they've even conquered that, sort of fear of whatever, multiple. So, yeah.
I concept.
Studio 7 Bachelor. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.